am Hannah. Welcome back to the Nerd Variety Podcast. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Hunter
Hi.
and Josh.
Hey!
Yeah, same people as every week, except every now and then we have a guest, but not this week. This week it's just us.
I think so far once we've had a guest.
One time we had a guest. Maybe we'll have a guest in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We actually might revamp this topic, today's topic, in the future with a guest, but we'll see. It'll depend on who and when and why and how and all that good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, details.
But today we're talking about anime. Specifically, what do we like about it? What do we not like about it? What's the deal with anime? So I want to just sort of open up the floor to you guys first of all, and just sort of get general impressions on like, what's your relationship with anime?
Hunter, what's your relationship with anime?
With my
What's
relationship,
your relationship with anime?
Yeah.
I watched Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid, and then Dragon Ball GT. Later, I went back and watched Dragon Ball. And then when I was in college, when I was actually roommates with Josh,
Hey.
he convinced me to watch Dragon Ball Super. So I did. Yeah.
So,
Look at me.
I actually haven't watched much Dragon Ball. Is that all of the Dragon Balls, or is there
Yeah,
more?
so Dragon Ball GT is the only one that doesn't really count because it didn't have the original creator involved.
Oh, okay.
And people don't really consider it part of it anymore. Super was
Yeah.
actually a continuation of
Right.
Z,
I knew that.
which, yeah, it basically, even GT was technically, I guess, still, in terms of timeline, if they're still continuing, it's after that, after Super.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But again, I think they just got rid of it.
Gotcha. But you have seen
Yeah,
all the Dragon Ball that there is to be seen.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's movies and stuff too. That's
Alright.
my most extensive knowledge of anime. I've seen the first season of Castlevania.
Not
I've
anime, though.
Yeah, it's definitely anime.
It's not anime.
It's definitely anime.
It's not
Okay.
anime.
Okay.
It
That's not.
is.
We're not talking about this right
And
now.
I've seen recently. I watched Beastars, which is really good, but you guys refused to watch it.
Sorry, not sorry.
And yeah,
So
I've watched a
other
little
than
bit of some
Dragon
other
Ball,
things.
some pretty limited knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair. Josh.
Me, I kind of saw anime as just, a different kind of cartoon growing
Mhm.
up. I primarily watched, Pokemon and Digimon were my interests into the anime world.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of got into those a little bit as a kid, and then growing up, I wasn't really an anime fan. I got introduced to Dragon Ball via Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and that kind of got me watching all of Dragon Ball. Most of Dragon Ball Z, and then getting into actually following Dragon Ball Super from
Mm-hmm.
when it came back to the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. But then after that, I've just been kind of like picking up new animes here and there. I think I have like 1, 2, 3, 4. I have like 4, like 5 that I say I follow. I follow right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I've kind of watched anime. I feel like it's a more recent thing. I feel like I started getting into anime in like high school.
Mhm.
But like I know my sister and I watched Sailor Moon as kids. But it's definitely something I've been enjoying more and more. So much so that as being a big reader, I've read a lot of manga as well. Not a lot, but like I read like 2 really long ones. So it feels like a lot, but it's really only 2 stories. But I've seen a good bit, and I feel like out of any of us here, I would say I appreciate the variety of anime more than either of you.
I would say that you are the most well-versed in anime.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah. I definitely have watched there's a couple that I haven't finished, but I've watched a good bit of mostly some very popular ones. I would love to venture into sort of the less well-known stuff, but I'm still learning and growing my weeaboo self. So Hunter, I specifically when in our kind of prep talk, you said that you've seen like the first episode of a ton of different anime.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say a ton, but
Well,
a
a ton
few.
meaning like between 5 and 10, maybe. It sounded
Maybe.
like that. You listed quite a few.
Yeah. Maybe.
So what is it about those that like, I guess it didn't keep you coming back for more? And in general, like why are you not more into this genre?
I don't know, just what I hear
Yeah.
from people a lot. Anime always seem like such big commitments.
Mm.
Feels like it's just such a, I don't know, a
I feel
thing.
the same way. I haven't seen like I've seen maybe 2 episodes of Game of Thrones because of the exact same thing.
Now, see, honestly, I don't think Game of Thrones is that big of a commitment because each season is only 10 episodes,
Mm.
and it's like there's like
No.
6 or 7 seasons, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's not too bad. But I definitely do have the same problem with like I think it's Naruto. Never seen Naruto
Yeah, me.
because there's like so many episodes.
Josh, I don't think changing your background is gonna make you randomly not disappear.
I was kind of hoping that it would.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Are we continuing?
Yeah. So, like, I
Naruto
don't know.
has
It's
500
just,
episodes.
jeez. Yeah, I knew it was a lot.
One
You know,
Piece has 925.
that one is another one I knew was a lot because I think Josh
Yeah.
and another one of our old roommates were watching it when I was there. I think when
Yeah.
we were living together.
Yeah, that one, Naruto One Piece, I was gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start Naruto, and saw like there were so many episodes, and I was like, I I could get into it, but then I just can't. There's so many like
Intimidating.
little. It's intimidating, and people go through it so fast, and they're like on these levels that I'm like I'm not there yet. I don't even know what you're talking about, and you're just saying these. You're just kind of speaking the language of the show, which I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm over here. And One Piece was pretty much the same way. It looks real. It's both of those are on my list to try, but I still haven't gotten there at all.
Yeah. The one that the longest one that I'm pretty into is Fairy Tale. I think I've seen up through I don't know, at least like episode 250 or something. But I haven't really watched any since then. But I think that's like the longest one that I've really been into. So, nothing near 900 episodes.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Super. No, not Dragon Ball Super. I would say. Well, no, watching Dragon Ball Z, watching like I think the first season of Attack on Titan, watching like Pokemon and Digimon. Those are a lot of episodes per season, per series, or however they do it.
Yeah.
And I think they're a lot more. The anime is getting a lot more digestible. They're making shorter seasons so people can like just enjoy like a straightforward story.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it works well for anime because in general, anime and manga both work in this sort of like arc fashion where it'll be like, okay, this arc is going to be 12 episodes where there's almost always like a, hey, we're going to have a big like battle. Like all of these people who are normally friends are all going to fight each other. And like that's going to take 15 episodes. And then like that could be your whole season. It's like just 15 episodes. They're only like 20 minutes long. And then the next season would be a different arc.
Yeah.
So I think the arc structure works well for having shorter series or seasons or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. And I liked how Dragon Ball Super did theirs. I mean, they did have some filler, of course, especially in their last season. Got some filler fighting episodes. But in between kind of like their fighting the big bad in seasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, they had some slice of life episodes, and that was where they really showed a light on the characters and them growing and showing their lives while getting set up for the next big thing.
I feel like part of the reason I haven't really been into Dragon Ball is because my sister and her fiance were watching it, and every time I walked in on them watching it, they were always at like some big like tournament.
Yeah,
they were always at a
tournament. There's the whole
tournament
saga. I think
guess maybe they were just.
I think there's
that for a
2
long
tournament
time.
sagas in Dragon Ball. Maybe 3 or 4 in Dragon Ball Z, and I think 2 in Super.
All I remember is like there was
I don't
one
think
episode.
there are any in GT.
there was one episode I saw with, I guess, the main character Goku, like as a young child, with like all his bits out for the world to see, and then every other episode I saw was a tournament, and I was just like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weirdly sexual in Dragon Ball.
It's 80s Japan.
largely concerning Bulma.
Yeah.
But yeah, Goku also has this little thing out every once in a while because it's about his character because he's just, when you meet him, he's like not met any other people except his grandpa who died, and then him.
Spoilers.
So he's like, he doesn't know anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So other than the time commitment, though, Hunter, is there something else that is the reason why you've watched Dragon Ball and basically nothing else?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I there are some things I like. Again, it's just a lot of times it's just committing to a show. I don't do a
Plenty
lot
of short shows. I mean, Attack on Titan only has 2 or 3 seasons.
The first season's about somewhere between 12 and 25 episodes. I'm trying to remember, like, specifically.
But yet,
I know
Hunter said earlier he's only watched 1.
Yeah, I guess it's
the first season is long, and then you have like it's let's see, there was the first season is really long. The second and third seasons are shorter, but you have like different arcs going on through them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess to me it's always been, and I don't know the best way to put this. So I'm just gonna try whatever.
Be blunt, be honest.
Yeah. So anime to me has always had a very childish feeling to it. Very hammy or campy, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Kind of over the top.
Oh yeah.
Happy-go-lucky kind of vibe, like all of it. It's really ridiculous, and I don't know. It's always felt like a bit much to me.
Yeah. Well, and that actually leads into something else I wanted to get to, which is why anime doesn't really reflect to live action very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because of all those things you just touched on. Like, it's one thing for a drawing or a cartoon to be like over exaggerated, and they have like the little annoyed like symbol on their face and like the water droplets when they're nervous, and like that's just
extreme facial reactions.
Yeah, and that's just like not really an energy you can even capture in real life.
Yeah.
So it definitely, that's part of the big reason I think it doesn't really turn into live action well.
No, we've seen like a lot of live action anime movies. Like you can find a lot on Netflix, or you can just find a lot out there. And then we're seeing that in like more mainstream, like Western animation, Western film and TV shows, where they've taken a animated series or concept and made it live action, and the actors and actresses have to match that same energy, and it kind of falls a little flat.
Right, and I feel like the two directions you could kind of take it. One would be, and honestly, I feel like the problem is, and I haven't really seen many of them, I feel like the problem is you just can't capture that same energy. So if you were trying to tell the same story, but in like a more serious and dramatic sort of way, I think about like Full Metal Alchemist. The movie was not received very well, I don't think.
It was. Yeah, I saw it. It was a little.
But like, you could tell that same story in a more serious light and come up with a really good movie. Like, it's a really interesting concept, and you could do it almost as more of like a horror kind of thing, honestly.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna try and take it that lighthearted, like over the top anime sort of way, you're just always gonna fall short of what the show is.
Yeah.
And even if you try and go a horror direction, people are like, "This isn't what the show is."
Yeah.
So it just kind of seems like a lost cause.
Yeah, it's definitely hit or miss, or just be like, eh.
That being said, people who are like generally more open-minded, I like to put myself in that category, I would really be fascinated by like a very serious horror Full Metal Alchemist sort of thing. Knowing that like it's more of like an homage to the original show instead of a replication.
Yeah, because you have to go in the mindset that you can't replicate it exactly.
Right.
Even some parts of the story you have to kind of leave out because it's one, it's filler. Two, it's just too much that it's more than what you can do. No matter how much you try to get an actor that looks the role. Especially if you make sure you don't whitewash the film. and
Yeah.
if you just get if you get the budget for it, it's still going to be hard to capture that same energy.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I say this, I feel like every episode, but I'm very hopeful for the Avatar: The Last Airbender show. I'm glad they're making a show and not a movie, because they can't capture. I know it's not anime, but it's anime-esque, and it's got the same issues that anime has in being reflected to the big screen. It's got the same issues, which is the over-the-top sort of characterization.
And
doesn't reflect real well to real people.
To me, I've never. Well, Josh, there was you were talking earlier. I can't remember if this is during the podcast or just before, but when I had mentioned Castlevania, for some reason you were saying that it's not really an anime or something, which it definitely is. But honestly, I've never felt as The Last Airbender is really anime. I've felt more of it as being like cartoon.
Anime. It's not. It's
so. If I may,
it's anime and it's inspired.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get my husband more into anime, and we have this sort of progression we've been going through, because he's accustomed to like American cartoons, and granted, I'm getting him more accustomed to them because I'm like, all these cartoons are great, watch them. I'm a big fan of cartoons, but kind of like the scale that I have us on is you've got like American cartoons, and then you have Avatar, which is emulating the anime style, and then you have Full Metal Alchemist, which is anime but emulating a Western style, and then you have full-blown anime. So we're kind of like, we watched Avatar, and now we're watching Full Metal Alchemist, and we're getting kind of closer and closer to anime, because Avatar definitely has a lot of anime factors and anime elements in it.
They were saying the same thing about, I was actually looking up like, okay, what's the difference between like what's not anime, what's not anime. They were saying that Castlevania is not anime. It was more like it's just an adult web cartoon. Boondocks, someone said that was not anime, which I find it hard to argue.
Boondocks? I would never think of that as anime.
It's definitely anime inspired, because of watching the show, you can see all the.
That was Adult Swim,
basically,
right?
But they pull a lot of their aesthetic from Afro Samurai.
Yeah.
Which was an anime.
And like for the most part, it seems like, anime is literally just like Japanese animation, so it makes sense for it to be like honestly a little bit more limited than we think it is. And I'm always really skeptical when Netflix is like, we made this anime, and I'm like, who's we? Is it anime if like the Netflix company in Sweden, like the Netflix branch in Sweden made this? Like, I don't know if it's anime, right? You could say it's anime-esque or anime-like, but I feel like there's a lot of things that are very similar to anime, but maybe just aren't anime because they weren't made in Japan. So that's kind of where I'm at. I did want to talk to you guys about the different genres of anime, and I have other names here. I'm not going to try and pronounce all of them because I'm going to mess them up, but the two most famous are shonen and shoujo. And you guys definitely seem to be more into the sort of classic, young boys going on adventures and action and fighting sort of stuff, right? What do you know about different types of anime?
I didn't even know there were different types of anime.
I didn't know those were anime genres. I just knew that there was like similar to like Western, like classic genres of film and television. Like, you have your action, strictly action. You have your horror. You have your dramas. I think you have everything else in between.
I think the only reason that they really classify them as different genres is because in America we just call all of them cartoons, and in general, cartoons are for children, right? But Japan
you're having more like adult cartoons, but that's
sure. But it's still a very new thing.
And you have ratings on them too. But I guess this would be similar to their rating system.
Kind of, yeah. And rating meaning like T for teen, M for mature, kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah, you have like Y7.
I know those are games or whatever.
That's ESP.
Same sort of thing, right? So it's they just have more concrete genres because they've been doing anime for young adults much longer than we've been like, people in their 20s watch cartoons. That's been a thing in Japan for a long time. So I think that's really all it comes from, because they basically have like shows for children, shows for like young girls, shows for young adult girls, shows for young boys, and shows for young adult boys. young being like basically they have like children, teens, young adult, boys and girls. That's pretty much it. But Dragon Ball definitely falls into the teenage boy category. So what do you think of the other categories? I think we can avoid talking about children's anime. None of us, I'm sure, have seen any that's like really geared toward 5-year-olds. What about some of the maybe more mature stuff or stuff geared for women?
Well, and they can definitely be very mature. I mean, I've seen a lot of anime that look good, and then you see like, oh, this looks like something I could watch. And it's like oh, it's a little edgy. It's a little more violent, a little sexual, a little extra sexual stuff, and they can really push the envelope. But they do some really good storytelling, nonetheless.
Yeah, it's really actually interesting for me because I was looking at the different genres and they put Attack on Titan in the teenage boy category instead of the older boy, and I was just like, I watched that when I was like 15, and I don't think I like slept or ate for like 3 days.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh my god.
I can't imagine watching that show as a 12 to 15-year-old.
Yeah, technically the teenage boy genre is like 10 to 16 or something like that. Yeah.
Because that's a lot of gore, horror, just terror all around.
Yeah, and my cousins are really into anime, or they're trying to get more into it, and their mom, my aunt, knows I'm more familiar than she is, and she was like, they keep talking about Attack on Titan. I was like, they're not ready. They're like 10 and 13-year-old girls. They're both like tiny, like stick thin redheads. I'm like, no, just keep watching. Like,
keep it light.
Keep watching
Sailor Moon.
Yeah. Watch some My Hero. Watch some.
They love My Hero Academia and Fairy Tail.
Yeah. Let them watch some Dragon Ball or something like that.
Yeah. So, what about? Have you guys seen anything from the girlier side of anime? I mentioned Fruits Basket. Sailor Moon's a good example.
No, this is the This is like the preteen. Girl anime. Okay.
Preteen teenager.
No.
No. Nothing.
When I was younger, I used to watch Powerpuff Girls.
Not anime.
Yeah.
Not anime. Why not? Why have you guys watched it?
Because I don't watch much anime.
Well, one, not knowing about the different those were like specific genres, and then two is like sometimes the genre gets a little soap opera-ish and just
sometimes that's like the entire thing.
Okay,
you just said you haven't seen any.
Hunter was being.
From my understanding, that's like the whole thing of like anime.
From like. I mean, watching some clips or just reading some descriptions. It's like, this is not my thing. This is boring. Like, blow something up. Hit each
Netflix,
other.
I saw the little. I guess you consider it a trailer or whatever, when you hover over it and just starts playing a scene or something, or sometimes a trailer. I saw the little thing for what I think was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or something. That felt like just they took a soap opera and just animated it.
I don't know much about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes, and there's a lot of just some drama in there. I think a lot of anime try to add that extra drama to draw in certain fans, but they do get to the action and the fighting and the the big plot too.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make the assumption that you guys just kind of in general aren't into, I guess you could call it drama or like slice of life sort of content anyway. Like even American content.
Not necessarily. Like
I do.
Sometimes, I do.
Yeah.
Like again, I mentioned Beastars. I think I really got into that, and that's that's drama.
Not action adventure oriented.
No, definitely not. It's
I know
more,
it. It's
drama.
I have I heard that it does have like some in it, but it's mostly just drama and just like deep storytelling, character development, which I do like seeing in animes, in like little slices of the series.
So, and like I feel like I'm interrogating you guys. It's not really my goal. I'm just trying to understand.
It should be.
Can't make me talk.
So if you like, to a certain extent, drama and character development, why do you crap on Fruits Basket every time I mention it?
I'm not crapping on it. I just don't know anything about it. I've never
But
seen
I
it.
think it's
that.
awesome.
This is the first time we've heard of it, and I'm like,
I've mentioned it many times.
Well, then
You
we
have?
weren't listening
Oh.
to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've mentioned it several times.
then this is the first time
Okay.
that you've said it that we've listened.
Apparently.
Sorry.
It
Well,
was one of the ones that I talked about anime. There was only one season of when the show came back out in like the early 2000s, but now they're revamping it, and we're finally literally I watched the first episode of the second season like a couple days ago and almost started crying because I was just so thrilled to be getting a second season like after all these years.
Okay.
I was just really excited, but I mentioned it in our single season shows episode a couple weeks ago, so I know I mentioned it.
Okay.
But what is it about it that
Okay.
makes you feel like, not for me? If you say that you like drama and character development.
I do, but I don't like. There's a lot of back and forth, and I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary back and forth, a lot of tension building, which is just to draw in, like audience, like, ooh, oh my god, oh, that sort of thing. I'm like, and people making, wondering what's gonna happen when it's just more. I'm just not. It just doesn't build me up as far as hype. I'm not feeling the hype for it.
Okay.
I mean, I do enjoy drama occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mostly watch that because it's exhausting for me to watch, especially after I finished when I was going through school, learning or
Sure, yeah.
film stuff and all that, and then even afterwards, especially too. It's like I'm thinking about everything. I'm thinking about how's this lit? They probably have a light over here. They have their other light back there. And then, these are how it's written. They wrote it this way because this character needs to do this.
Are you saying like
thing.
as a result of you taking like film classes?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. We had to study a lot. So it's
sure.
Like if it's serious, I'm always focusing on everything else around the story, like how they capture everything. That's why I tend to prefer a lot of like funny cartoons or live action shows where I don't have to think about it much. Or there's one that I would say Community is a live action one. I enjoy it a lot, probably because they kind of are straight up with that kind of meta stuff. They're talking about how it's a TV show, at least one character is, and they draw your attention to that stuff for you. So to me it feels like less work because they're doing it for you.
Gotcha.
But again, also with cartoons like Futurama, Rick and Morty, Simpsons, a lot of different things. I like those because, well, they're drawing it, so they don't have lighting, they don't have all this other stuff. Sometimes I will get distracted by thinking about the voice actors and how thinking about them in the booth and how they're mixing and mastering everything. But
okay. But anime
drama, that's still, I'm thinking more intensely because I'm not just there for a laugh or something. I'm trying to follow a story and thinking about all that. So it's a lot.
What's going on with Josh?
I don't know. He's still here.
I'm having technical difficulties with my screen. Sorry.
Okay, gotcha. You're good. So have either of you read any manga?
Nope.
No.
No.
Technically, yeah. I had to in college.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, I don't remember which ones that we read were actually manga, but I took a graphic novel class,
Okay.
and we had to read a variety of stuff from different cultures. So some of them
Sure.
were closer, at least.
So for two people who you guys talk about comics a good bit, what do you think is the difference between a comic book and a manga? Or like, do you think there is a difference?
One's American, one is Japanese.
That's pretty
Fair
much
enough. Okay.
You read one left to right, the other right to left.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So would you say it's just because like you don't know what to read that you haven't read any?
Maybe, but manga also tend to be much bigger from what I can tell.
Like in terms of just number of episodes and volumes
and like
stuff?
the thickness of each book or something, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, they also I think tend to be smaller, but
yeah, it's something that I think I should try at least for one that I've followed through all the way through, and just pick one. But I think it's what happens when I'm in a bookstore. I'm just more drawn to comics. Cool, I'm what I'm used to. Go for it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Plus, there's already so much story. Like if you look at Marvel and DC, the two biggest names, obviously, there's so much already of all the characters that is created. So that's a lot of stuff to try to get through right there.
Honestly,
in my opinion, that's how I see it. So
I feel like that's why I have read significantly more manga than I have or comic books, because like I've wanted to read comic books, but like I legitimately do not know where to start, because there's like so many different arcs and like they don't really seem to be linear, because there's some of them in different universes and stuff. But anytime I go to like a bookstore and I'm looking at the manga, it's like, this is volume 1, and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna buy volume 1 and read it.
Okay. I guess that's fair. Yeah, because Marvel and DC especially are very hard to follow.
Yeah,
unless you've been reading like ever since the first comic book came out, then you've made sure to read everything, then you're probably not. You're probably missing stuff.
Or you were aware of a company-wide reboot, and you're like, okay, this is where I can start now. Let me jump in.
Yeah.
Don't go ahead and jump in line.
And you guys have recommended some stuff that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of different comics in our alternate reality conversation, and I was like, this sounds fascinating, but I was just like, there's too much going on here.
I'm sure me and Josh can give you a list if you want one.
Yeah.
I would like that.
Sure thing.
All right, and then in our last final minutes here, what animes have you seen? Give me like your top 3. I guess, Hunter, all of yours are Dragon Ball.
Well, we discussed
You're welcome to rank them.
We discussed earlier if we want to consider Dragon Ball as like a franchise, just as one collective. So that's Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z.
However you want to formulate your top 3, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball is surprisingly good, actually. I really liked it. It's more like fighting instead of like energy beams and all that. It's more about like actual, you know what I mean, like fist fighting usually. But it gets bigger and bigger as it progresses through Z and GT and Super. Though beyond Dragon Ball, I would again say Beastars is good. And what other ones have I seen? I don't know. My brother, when he was alive, he was really into Cowboy Bebop. I think that's an interesting-ish one. I never really watched any of it. Maybe Castlevania, because that's another one that I've seen the first 5 episodes of. So that's the first season. That's the entire first season, and the first episode of season 2.
Gotcha. All right, Josh?
You're wrong, Hunter. Let's see here. I would say Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan. Then I'll say, 7 Deadly Sins.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, wrong, Josh.
Hey, all mine were anime. I don't know.
See,
Which
every
one.
time
I
you
was
say
just telling you you're wrong.
Different
anytime
anime.
anyone says Seven Deadly Sins, I just think of Full Metal Alchemist. So
Yeah. So there's
Why?
the concept of 7 deadly sins are in both of them, but they're played
yeah.
out
I'm
much
sure, yeah.
differently. Yeah.
Hunter in Full Metal Alchemist, there's these creatures called homunculi, and they are the 7 deadly sins, and they're kind of like some of the main villains of the series. Have you watched Full Metal Alchemist?
No.
That's definitely one. If you
Yeah.
wanted to watch something, again, it's on
I've heard.
that scale. It's more Western,
Yeah.
and it's honestly phenomenal. And you have to watch
Yeah.
Brotherhood,
Brotherhood's the one you want to watch.
obviously.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's really good. It's a good time. It's also on my list. My top 3 in no particular order. I'll start with the letter F. I got Full Metal Alchemist, which is honestly just really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Really well written.
Mm.
Fairy Tale, which less well written, but I love the characters, and it was definitely like
Yeah.
one of my first introductions into the genre. So I love it for that.
Yeah.
And then Fruits Basket, because again the writing and the characters are phenomenal, and that's actually the only one that I have all but 4 volumes of the manga on my shelf, and I like want to read it to my kids when I have children someday.
Do it.
So like that
And then-
one's like very near and dear to me.
I got to meet Todd Havercorn like briefly at a Comic-Con last year. I was
Mhm.
like, nice to meet you, man. I'll try to watch some of your shows because I haven't seen. I'm pretty sure I've seen a lot of things that he's in, but I knew that I hadn't seen like Fairy Tale or what are some other ones that he's like big. He's got a big name in.
What's the actor's name again?
Todd Havercorn. You've probably heard his
Mhm.
voice 1,000 times. Honorable mentions. Hunter, I think you would get into One Punch Man.
Yeah, I've watched actually a few episodes, but not much.
Yeah, finish the season, and then season 2 is on Hulu, I think.
Okay.
Let's see. There's also I think you might like Cannon Busters. I really liked it because it was like it had like mostly African American like characters in the show, or just very diversely ethnic show. Most anime show people as white or Japanese or some weird mixture or alien. But these are all like it has mostly like ethnic people in the show.
Okay.
I just looked up Todd Havercorn. He is in a ton of stuff, and he is arguably the main character in Fairy Tale.
Okay.
Just so you know.
The pink-headed dude.
Yeah. Natsu. Yeah. He's like
Okay.
one of the 2 main characters. Yeah. I have a pop doll of him on my shelf. Yeah. The one thing we didn't talk about today that I would love to talk about sometime, but I might have to have Hunter especially do some research first, is Studio Ghibli. Because they are really, really big in terms of anime. And I love them, and I need to do more research. So maybe we'll do that some other time. But in the meantime,
Studios.
yeah. In the meantime, that's it for today. Josh, I believe it's your week. Next time, what are we talking about?
Fantasy Weapons sales pitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doing that sales
I like
pitch
sales
thing
pitch.
again. So sell your fantasy weapons and see which one we all like to buy.
Okay, and this time, I guess I'll try to avoid tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it should be a lot easier with fantasy than it was for sci-fi, honestly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Probably.
So we'll just have to compare lists to make sure we don't have all the same ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
All right. We'll look forward to that next week. Until then, nerd out.
See ya.
Oh.
Bye.